Hello, everybody, and welcome to a live stream that I am doing for the King of Staten Island, which is available on all digital platforms because of the coronavirus. It was not available to come into theaters, and I'm sad that I wasn't able to do that. But of course, I'm glad I got to see it anyway because it's the best movie of the fucking year. It is the best movie of the year. I'm saying that right now. I'm calling it critically. It's at like 68% or something like that on Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm calling it right now. This is the best fucking movie of the year. And I'm going to start right off the top. Pete Davison did an amazing job. Now, yes, he is basically playing himself, similar to how Kumail Nanjiani legit played himself in The Big Sick. But this is a very honest, raw, layered performance that he is doing. And yes, he took a first, dramatic attempt at Big Time Adolescence. Now, I like that movie very much. Some people were not a fan of his performance. I thought he was very good in it, and that was the first time he was truly given a lead role to do. And with this one, this is his life. It is his alternative life if he had not found comedy when he was 16 years old. Because everybody knows Pete's father passed away on 9/11. He was a firefighter. He died in the towers, I believe. And he never truly got over it. And he's talked about in interviews how this movie has helped him deal with the loss of his father and has kind of helped him move on and kind of, well, not necessarily forget, but at least not have this part of his life just hovering over him in a way. And it is a well-written movie. Yes, it is 135, 136 minutes, maybe even 137 minutes actually. Yeah, because it said 137 minutes on the Apple TV Plus thing. But I didn't care. It's one of these movies where when it was over with, I was shocked that it was over. I thought it would go a lot longer. I wanted it to go a lot longer. But it ended in a good place for his character. Whereas in the beginning, you see him at a point where you're just like, oh shit. And I'm glad that they started that movie that way because it set you up for the road that you're going to take for the next 137 minutes. His character's name is Scott. His father's name is Scott. I'm guessing that's the reason why he chose that name. Scott's dad was a firefighter. He died in a hotel fire when he was 7 years old. Similar to how Pete was 7 years old when his father passed away. And he, in this movie, is 24 years old, and he has never gotten over it. He's living with his mom, played wonderfully by Marissa Tomei, and his sister is played by Maud Apatow. And she gave a great performance, and she's truly becoming a great actress. Now, again, I have not seen Euphoria. I have not watched Hollywood, but because again, like her career started because her dad's Judd Apatow, and he's putting her in a bunch of movies like 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up and Funny People and This Is 40, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is again, I have not watched Euphoria yet. I have not watched Hollywood on Netflix, but I have saw her in Other People, which is I think also on Netflix still. If you have not seen it, you definitely should watch that. And she was because she plays his sister, and her sister was very worried about her brother because he has dealt with a lot. And she's worried about him because she is worried. And this is a real conversation that's in the movie. She is worried what he'll do to himself when she's not there. And he makes the interesting point of because she asks, "Are you going to kill yourself, Scott?" And he goes, "Probably. Yeah, maybe, most likely." And I'm amazed that it did that because again, this is a movie put out by Universal Pictures, but it's a big studio movie, but it's an honest one, and it deals with the mental health issues, and it deals with the impact that it has on someone's psyche when they lose somebody, especially their father, and then it deals with how the mother is starting to move on because she meets Bill Burr. And he gives a great performance. And again, I have not seen Black or White, so I can't judge based off that, but he was really good in Mandalorian. He was really good on Breaking Bad, and this is kind of his first really big lead role in a movie because he wasn't Black or White, but that I haven't seen it yet, but I've seen parts of it, but that was like a supporting role. And he had a tiny little role in Date Night as Taraji P. Henson's partner, but he didn't really have a whole lot of lines. But in this one, he truly gets to expose his layers as this, very foul-mouthed, angry firefighter who loves Scott's mom. He meets her through a very funny scene because it's something that Scott does. And through that, they meet over a cup of coffee, and they genuinely do like each other. And it's a romance that you wish hopes to go well, because again, like, his mom deserves happiness too. Of course she does. Like, anybody who deals with that sort of heavy dramatic thing, it's interesting because again, like I can relate to this movie because here's why. It's well known amongst people that know me, but my father passed away when I was 16 years old, and my relationship with him was not great, and it fucked me up mentally. It genuinely did fuck me up mentally because everybody, and I specifically when I was at his memorial, everybody had this image of my father and was saying all these great stories, but I didn't have these great stories. Everybody in that room had a great story about my dad but me. Because because he passed away when I was 16, right around 10-ish. Actually, the more I think about it, like even though he didn't get like bad until I was like 11, maybe 10. It started when I was like 5 years old. He was a very angry person. He was very angry with his life, and he would scream at me, and he would, like I remember one specific time. This is like in preschool. This happens when you're 4 years old. Like every 4-year-old accidentally shits himself or herself. You know what I mean? It happens. And I remember my dad had to pick me up and take me home and get me new clothes. And I remember, because again, I'm 4, like I don't wipe my own ass yet. He's cleaning me up, and he got shit in his hand, and he put in my face like, look at this. And then he was just spanking me hard. He was like, because again, like he had like giant hand. Now, my hands are fairly large, but like, again, like this is like, 4 years old. So my hand is like around that. And again, this is a fucked up thing that happened when I was 4. And other shit happened. I won't get into it, but I remember specifically when my dad passed away and I was gone for a couple of days and I came back, nothing really changed. Nobody really asked me how I was doing. Nobody really ever came up to me and said they were sorry for their loss, even if they didn't. Like, generally, a lot of the time, they don't mean it. Sorry, they don't mean it. If a random person that you never really talk to comes up to you and say, hey, blah, 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 I am so sorry for your loss. Generally, they don't mean it. They're just being nice. Sorry, that's just my personal thinking and beliefs on that. But I remember when I came back to school, nobody asked me how I was doing. Nobody wondered why I was gone. Because again, I was not a popular person. I was not. I was one of these people that while they didn't really have a core group of friends, they were cool with basically everybody, pretty much all the time. And then on top of that, when you're dealing with this one side of your dad that nobody really else had to deal with, like, it fucks you up in the head. It caused me to have shit play in my head every single day. And I'm 23 years old. I still deal with it. Will deal with it for the rest of my life. And then I remember in senior year of high school when Pete Davison's first season of Saturday Night Live aired. And I had seen him on Wild 'N Out and Guy Code. And I saw him on some stand-up shit. But I remember seeing him on Saturday Night Live on Weekend Update, the fact that this guy was only a couple years older than me, and he's doing that, it kind of motivated me. Because I'd always wanted to do stand-up. I always wanted to do it. I remember when I was a little kid watching Comedy Central all the time, and I always wanted to do it. But Pete Davidson's the reason why I do it. He's the reason why I was motivated enough to go up and try it for the first time. And it's not that I was scared. I knew I was going to suck. I still suck. For those who don't know, when you want to start doing stand-up, you're just going to end up sucking for the first, 3-4 years of your life. Like I've done it for 4 years and I still suck. And some people are meant for it, some people aren't meant for it. I remember this one person was asking me, this one lady who just annoying the fuck out of everybody at the club. She was asking us all of these questions. She was asking about doing stand-up for the first time. She was saying how, like, oh, my friends think I'm so funny that I murder if I do it, blah, 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 blah. And she's asking us all these stupid questions that we don't even know how to answer. And we're just like, bitch, I don't fucking know. And I didn't know how to do it. And again, I wasn't trying to be an asshole, but it's just like you're asking questions where all you do is it's not that hard. You just go up there, tell a couple jokes, and yeah, you're going to suck. But that's how it happens. And anyway, back to Pete Davison. Like, again, Pete Davidson's the reason why I touched the mic in the first place. And I love him, man. He's somebody I idolize very much. And I remember at Clusterfest year 1, and he was there. I saw him perform all 3 times that he performed. And then I saw on the Clusterfest Instagram feed that some people down on the ground took pictures with him that day, the first day he was there, and I was heartbroken because I didn't meet him. And I was bummed. I was really bummed. In my head, I told myself, like, that's not the day you're going to meet him. One day you will meet him. And I hope one day that does happen. But back to the movie now. So when Scott's mom is dating somebody new who's pretty much like his dad, it fucks with his head. And he tries to end it, but then this second half of the movie, because to me the movie has two obviously the first half and the second half, and the first half is him dealing with this new change in his life, and then the second half is him finally coming to terms with what has happened, because in many ways he still hasn't coped, and he never really learned how to, because once this happened, he just, I don't know, he put up a barrier. One example of this is a friend of his played by Belle Powley in an exceptional role. She is amazing in this fucking movie. She plays his friend who's also his fuck buddy, friends with benefit, no strings attached, you know what I'm saying. And obviously she likes him. She genuinely wants to be with him. But he feels as though, because he has such low self-esteem, he doesn't think that he deserves her, and that he's good enough for her, and he thinks that it's bad for her if she were to be with him. And it's something I deal with. And now, obviously, yeah, again, like, Pete's way much better looking than I am, but I genuinely do have low self-esteem, and I also have, like, these issues. So, like, I don't want to really date somebody right now because I feel, or not for a while, or I don't know, just I'm rambling on and on. But my point is, I deal with these issues to where I don't necessarily know if I should go out with somebody. I mean, like, genuinely have a relationship with somebody, because I have so many issues to the point where it's like, hey, listen, I dealt with some shit. I'm still dealing with that shit. It'd be not great for you to be with me because I'm still dealing with that shit, and I don't want you to put up with it. And then once you get to the firehouse, you meet a very colorful group of characters, one of which is Paw Paw, played by Steve Buscemi. Actually, no, Buscemi, sorry. And he's phenomenal in this movie. And then for those who don't know, Buscemi was a firefighter in, I believe, Brooklyn, back in the 80s, before he was like a serious actor. And then I know that when 9/11 was happening, he volunteered to go put on the suit again. Put on the suit, put on the jacket. And again, I'm not trying to be like blind about it. I genuinely just don't know for firefighters. Do they put on the jacket? Do they put on the suit? I legit just don't know. My apologies. Anybody who's a firefighter out there, like, please comment. Like, what is it that you, like, do you put on the gear? Like, what is the phrase? I would love to know. And also, like, one thing that I felt this movie definitely did do well was the portrayal of firefighters. Firefighters are badasses. They're heroes. A part of me thinks about, like, what if I was one? I genuinely can't, and it's not because I'm afraid to die, but rather, if you fuck up one little thing, like, if you make the tiniest fuck up in the world, that can mean either you're on fire, your team's on fire, the building crashes down, One little thing will end you. And I just am so terrified of that aspect that I just don't want to do it. And but yeah, Steve Buscemi, it kind of takes on this because he has a grandfather in the movie, and he's played by Pete's actual grandfather, and he's in a scene and he's really fucking funny. But Paw Paw kind of becomes like one of his main advice givers. And the most powerful line in the whole movie is when they're at the bar and they're talking about his dad and what he was like, because again, he doesn't know what he's like. And earlier in the film, when he meets all the guys, he talks about how firefighters shouldn't have families because they don't know if they're coming home or not, and that'll fuck up the kid. Because again, like, that can happen. There are times where, if like a family of a firefighter or a police officer or a first responder or even people in the military, there's an aspect of you want them to, but they may not come back. And Steve Buscemi touches on that, and he said, "Your father was a hero, and heroes deserve families, and they genuinely do. They deserve families." And he also adds, "And listen, we know." Basically, he's saying that we know there's a chance that we may not come back, but we still deserve to be happy. We still deserve to have families. We still deserve to have a life outside of the firehouse. And one thing they also genuinely do, I felt, get really right was the brotherhood and the family knit relationship of the firefighters in the firehouse. And there's one very intense, not intense, but it's a scene where he goes along, he rides along with them to a fire, and he shows them putting out the fire and saving the people, and he has this genuinely shocked look on his face. And Steve Buscemi assures him, like, "Hey, they're trained. This is what they do. They'll be fine." And one thing I should point out, this is directed, I think I've said this earlier, this is directed by Judd Apatow. He co-wrote it with Pete and Pete's writing partner, Dave Cyrus. And it's also shot by Bob Elswit, who's a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson movies that he shot, like There Will Be Blood, Boogie Nights, etc., etc., etc. And he makes it look so gorgeous. And what I love about Judd, because again, I know that a lot of comedies shoot on digital, but I know that Judd shoots on film. And when a comedy shoots on film, it adds a crisp and a grain that makes it just look beautiful. It makes it look like a painting in many ways. And one element that adds to that is the cinematography. And the cinematography in here is fucking phenomenal. And you also have a group of characters that are his friends. Like, one of them is... Let me find his name. Like, one of them is Moises Arias, a.k.a. Rico from Hannah Montana. He's one of the friends who Scott constantly inks on. And you have Oscar, played by Ricky Velez, who's one of the co-producers on the movie, and he's also a really good friend of Pete's. And he has said, like, I've been with Pete through a lot of the shit that's happened in the last few years. Because for those who don't know, like, Pete's had a very rough life in the last 2.5, 3 years, starting specifically in summer 2018, I felt. And it was to the point where, because again, I was genuinely annoyed. There's one episode of What the Fit that he was guest starring on where they come, they agree to move somebody's house. And the daughter goes, oh, hey, you're engaged to Ariana Grande. And then he's like, yeah, I am. But like, my thing is, that's not all he's known for, man. Like, he's like, at the time they shot this, he'd been in stand-up for 8 years, and he was in his, I believe, 4th season of Saturday Night Live, and merging into his 5th season. And when you're with somebody that famous and that popular, like, it fucks with your head. I remember, because he doesn't like social media. He doesn't like it. I'm great when it's cool to see him when he's back on there, but like, he genuinely hates it. I remember one specifically where it's the 5th season premiere, and because of SNL, you have to go back a week early to prepare, if not 2 weeks, and it shows him walking into 30 Rock, and all these paparazzi are taking pictures of him, and he's walking and he's screaming, "Coming back to work, fucking Saturday Night Live!" Ah! And again, and he's not doing it as a joke. Like, he's fucking angry because he can't go anywhere. And ever since he was with that woman, he is now a paparazzi target because genuinely every time after he dates, because he genuinely dates one insanely attractive person after another, and when you do that, and they're relative and they're very famous, obviously, paparazzi is going to be all over you. And also, and what's funny is that one of his ex-girlfriends, Carly Aquino, is in this movie. And she plays one of the friends that they hang out with, and then that just shows, like, because apparently him and Carly are really good friends still to this day. Like, because I remember him talking about her on Charlamagne the Guy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, we're cool." And I think he even said, like, "Hey, I cast her in the movie that I just did." And then as it ends, I was genuinely shocked. It ends at a beautiful place, but I was just shocked that that's where they were ending it. I was fine with it, but it was just like, okay, we're ending it here. Why? Because again, there's a song that plays, and I know, and I was checking there's a song that plays, and I checked, like, what time are we at? And I checked, this is the end. This is at the 2 hour and 9 minute mark. And Pursuit of Happiness by Cuddy starts playing. And of course, Cuddy's very good friends with Pete Davison. And when that song hits, I'm just like, all right, this is it. And it ends on this very beautiful shot of him just looking around the city of Manhattan. And my final thoughts are, he was amazing in this movie. He did an incredible job, and he took a lot of balls for him to do this, and that he shows what he's going through. He talks about everything, and he goes there. Like, this is a big studio Universal movie, Judd Apatow movie, that's going into fairly mature subject matter. I mean, like, the opening scene alone, I'm not going to give it away, but the opening scene alone sets you up for what you're going to watch. And I have seen it twice. The first time, I almost cried 5 different times. At the end, I almost started crying, and I felt like, how, like, when you're about to cry, you feel this kind of, like, area around your face. It's like on the inside, it's starting to, like, I don't know, I guess, like, be like, I don't know how to describe the feeling when you're about to cry. And this feeling in your face, like, you just feel this air on the inside of your and in your throat, and you just feel like, oh my God, I'm about to produce tears. And when the movie ended, I was about to cry, because it hit me, and it resonated with me on a giant fucking level. I DM'd Judd about how much I love this movie and how much it meant to me and how much he and Pete meant to me. He hasn't gotten back to me yet. I don't think he will, because again, like, he's Judd fucking Apatow. He's busy. But I am genuinely grateful this movie got made. I've watched it twice now. I have it, I think, on my iTunes for another, let's see, it's 12:35, so I have it for another, I'd say 20 hours. Yeah, 20 hours maybe, just over 20 hours. So I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it a third time. I'm not sure, because I know that it'll be on Blu-ray in the next 2.5 to 3 months. And I'm wondering, though, when it comes out, like, because again, even though it is 137 minutes, I wanted it to be longer. I wish it was at least 2.5 hours, whereas Funny People didn't need to be 2.5 hours. I love Funny People, but sorry, it didn't need to be 2.5 hours. And I genuinely hope that there are deleted scenes on the extras, because I'm curious. And also, I wanted to know, like, is there a cut? Or is there a director's cut, or an extended cut? Or is it just going to be deleted scenes? I don't know. I'm just curious because with comedies, generally, they are going to be fairly long. One example of this, the movie Long Shot with Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron. The first cut of the movie, according to Jonathan Levine, was 4.5 hours long. You heard that right, 4.5 hours long. And that's generally because it's every scene, every joke they've tried, it's just everything they film, they cram into that 4.5 hour cut. And if this movie is ending at 137 minutes, I'm curious, like, well, how long was this first cut? How was the test screening process? Like, I wanted to know about the technical aspects of it in the post. And we are about to hit the 25-minute mark, and I thought I was going to make this long, giant video just talking about this movie, but I feel like this is a decent place to wrap it up. Because again, my apologies that I'm just rambling on and on about how much this movie connected to me and the stuff that I deal with and how I related to it. But this is just, I fucking love this movie so much. I love it. and I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray. It's a 10 out of 10. It's an A+. It's my favorite movie of the year. So on that note, if you haven't seen it, watch it, and if you have it for a couple more days, watch it again and again. So I think we're gonna end right here. Have you guys seen it? What have you thought? Comment below. And that's it. All right, guys. Have a good rest of your night. Actually, no, it's 12:37, so technically morning. Okay, bye.